After a whirlwind marriage with my best friend's brother, he moved abroad. But he promised to send me $1 million a month to make up for our long-distance relationship. 6 months later, I was living my best life with my bestie in our new house. Then one night, a man broke in. I swung a baseball bat right into his crotch. My best friend fled in the middle of the night. "Diana, how can you not even recognize my brother?" Frank cornered me, half furious, half amused. "I can't get it up anymore. Tell me how you're going to compensate me for that. If your husband gave you $1 million a month but never came home, would you be okay with that?" My best friend's text popped up while I was getting grilled by a client in a conference room. I looked up, and the glare from my boss's bald spot was giving me a headache. Forget never coming home, I'd even take care of his mistress's baby for that kind of money without a single complaint. Great. Bring your ID tomorrow. See you at City Hall. That girl has always been impulsive, and I had no idea what she was up to this time. It wasn't until she dragged me out of bed the next morning that I realized she was serious. "Your brother? You mean your stone-faced, academic world-dominating brother?" I pushed the makeup artist's hand away, grabbing Olivia's face. My voice went up an octave. "Yep. And don't worry, it's a guaranteed $1 million a month. Girl, this jackpot has finally landed on us." Olivia excitedly pushed me back into the chair, letting the makeup artist work her magic. After my makeover, I was hustled over to City Hall. My fiancé had already taken a number and was waiting in line. "Excuse me, are you both entering into this marriage voluntarily?" My expression must have been so blank that the clerk at the counter couldn't help but ask. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I instinctively pulled it out. "A deposit of $100,000 has been made to your bank account ending in XXXX. Your current balance is $100,250. I took a deep breath and flashed a genuinely sweet smile. I never want to leave my husband's side for the rest of my life. Beside me, Frank smirked. Damn it. Not only was this guy rich, but he was also ridiculously handsome. Why didn't Olivia tell me about this amazing deal sooner? Right after leaving City Hall, I was whisked away to the airport. The international branch is just starting up, so I need to be based there for a while. Frank stood at the boarding gate and handed me a key. "As compensation for our long-distance marriage, I'll give you $1 million a month. This is the key to our place in a luxury condo complex. If you get lonely living by yourself, you can have Olivia come stay with you." I took the key and stuffed it in my pocket. Still in a daze, my brain went on autopilot, and I waved at Frank. "Bye-bye, honey." Frank looked away, a bit flustered, and dragged his suitcase toward the VIP lounge. Leaving the airport, I found the Maybach waiting outside based on the information Frank had given me. "Ma'am, please get in." Overnight, I went from a corporate drone on the verge of death to a wealthy woman. It even came with a devastatingly handsome husband. Isn't this better than winning the lottery? After calming myself down, I pulled out my phone and called Olivia, telling her to pack her bags ASAP. Bestie. Opening the door to Frank's massive modern house, I almost did a full slip and slide on the gleaming floor. Olivia quickly caught me. Bestie, sister-in-law. This is just the beginning. After Olivia's explanation, I finally got the gist of my new husband's situation. Frank started his own business in college, and in less than 3 years, it had expanded internationally. His domestic company is a major player in the industry. Seeing that Frank was about to be stationed abroad long-term, his family gave him an ultimatum. If you want to go abroad, fine. But you have to get married here first. And that's when Olivia had a brilliant idea. Keep the good stuff in the family. After hearing the story, I hugged Olivia and cried tears of joy. We started living it up together in the new house Frank left for me. It was a fairy tale life. Normally, a fairy tale would have its happy ending right here. But after 6 months of this blissful existence. One night, late. After a full day of shopping, I had just managed to spend this month's interest. Exhausted, I had just showered and was about to collapse into my soft, king-sized bed. I heard a strange noise from the front door. Is someone breaking in? In the darkness, my hearing was extra sharp. The doorknob began to turn. I fumbled in the dark for the baseball bat I kept in the corner by the bed. The moment the light flicked on, a tall figure burst into the room. I squeezed my eyes shut and swung the bat. A muffled grunt. A startled cry. Huh. I put on my glasses. Frank's handsome face was twisted in pain. And my bat was right between his legs. Melody. Frank's deep voice was laced with anger. A chill ran down my spine. I shot a desperate, pleading look at Olivia, who was still standing behind Frank enjoying the show. Sis, how could you not even recognize my own brother? But that traitor stomped her foot dramatically, covered her face, and ran. She literally fled in the middle of the night. Olivia dragged her suitcase and vanished into the darkness. Olivia. What happened to "we're in this together"? And she was using the brand new limited edition Louis Vuitton suitcase I had just bought today. Great. Just great. So much for friends in need. Frank was still bent over, trying to recover. I flattened myself against the wall and tried to inch my way out. A muscular arm, veins popping, suddenly blocked my path. Frank blocked the doorway, saw my obvious escape attempt, and let out a humorless laugh. I can't get it up anymore. So what are you going to do about it? Well, what can't you get up? I swallowed hard and gave Frank an awkward smile. Playing dumb, are we? Frank's other hand moved to the belt at his waist. I screamed and covered my eyes. No, no, no. We can talk about this. Ah. I'm still an innocent maiden, for crying out loud. A low chuckle reached my ears, and the hands covering my eyes were gently pulled away. Frank leaned in close. I was trapped between his arms and the doorframe. I could even smell the faint scent of his cologne. Long time no see, wife. Whoosh. All the blood rushed straight to my head. This man is a devil. A devil. I was as red as a boiled shrimp. I sat stiffly on the edge of the master bed. The sound of the shower running in the bathroom behind me was fraying my last nerve. Damn it, it's not like I dared to run. A moment later, the water stopped. The scent of shower gel drifted through the door. The mattress behind me dipped noticeably. I shot up like a rocket. I crossed my arms, staring warily at the composed Frank, who was lounging on the bed. What are you doing? I'm going to sleep. Frank leaned back on the bed, propping his head up with one long arm, a playful smile on his face. Sleeping, here? My face paled. Husband and wife sleeping together. Isn't that perfectly normal? Frank gracefully rolled over and pulled the red marriage certificate booklet, which had been sitting there for half a year, from the nightstand. I had nothing to say. Because he was right. What are you so afraid of? It's not like I'm going to eat you. The collar of his silk pajamas was half open, revealing a sliver of his fair chest. Paired with that devilishly handsome face. Wait a minute. Maybe he's the one in danger? Ahem, I think I'll sleep in the guest room. I mumbled, trying to sound casual. Olivia's already gone, anyway. I had just taken one step when a suppressed groan came from behind me. Frank was lying on the bed, his face pale, his handsome brows furrowed in pain. I leaped back onto the bed in 2 strides. Oh, my moneybags, I mean, Frank, what's wrong? Frank covered his eyes, his voice filled with humiliation. What do you think is wrong? You almost castrated me. I glanced at the baseball bat in the corner, feeling incredibly guilty. Frank was still groaning in pain. So, what are you going to do? I hesitated for a moment, then held out my hand. How about I, rub it for you? Frank's pale face instantly turned beet red. He slapped my hand away. Pervert. My eyes darted down between his legs. My face was so red it felt like it could drip blood. Having nearly incapacitated my meal ticket with a baseball bat, I resigned myself to my fate and lay back down on the bed. In Frank's words, "What if I pass out from the pain in the middle of the night? You'd have to take me to the hospital, wouldn't you?" I wrapped myself in the blanket and crawled to the very edge of the bed. "You're so far away. How would you even know if I passed out?" After some rustling, I wiggled back. My back was now touching Frank's arm. Frank let out a satisfied sigh. "Let's sleep. I'll drive you to work tomorrow." "Huh? Are you able to?" I turned my head, my face full of doubt. Frank covered my eyes, which were involuntarily drifting downwards, and said in embarrassment, "It's not like my leg is broken. TSK. So sensitive." The next morning, a text from Olivia arrived before my alarm. "Good morning, sis-in-law. So, how did it go last night? Is my brother okay? Did you suck him dry, you little succubus?" I turned to look at the peacefully sleeping Frank. "Forget it. Better not tell Olivia about his performance issues." As if sensing my gaze, Frank slowly opened his eyes. His charming eyes, which always looked so soulful, were misty from just waking up. The thought of him saying good morning to me in his deep, sleepy voice made my face flush again. "Your dark circles are practically down to your mouth." Frank squinted, delivering a soul-crushing critique. "Humph. I'll let it slide since you're disabled." I snorted and rolled out of bed. From the bed, Frank gritted his teeth, "Diana." An hour later, Frank's car was already waiting for me downstairs. Staring at the brand new Bentley, the corner of my mouth twitched. "Can't we be a little more low-key, Mr. CEO?" Frank gripped the steering wheel, looking completely baffled. I didn't take the Rolls-Royce from the garage. I was speechless. "Just drop me off at the subway station." "Am I that embarrassing to be seen with?" Frank said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I sighed and rubbed my forehead. I need to keep a low profile at work. Otherwise, my coworkers will think I'm a sugar baby. I caught Frank's meaningful glance. Thinking about the $1 million that hit my account every month. I guess he's not wrong. Unable to resist my pathetic, puppy dog eyes, Frank finally agreed to drop me at the subway entrance. He really was a great guy. "Diana, is the proposal for the meeting with CSU Corp. ready?" I had just sat down at my desk when my supervisor sashayed over. "It's done. I've already sent it to your email." The moment I finished speaking, a thick stack of folders was dropped on my desk. The supervisor pointed at me bossily. "The big boss is taking this partnership with CSU very seriously. These are all their company's historical data. I want you to organize it and give it to me before you leave today." I bit my tongue and forced a smile. "Okay, I'll get on it right after the meeting." I grabbed my laptop, ready to head to the conference room, but the supervisor blocked my way. "I'll handle the presentation." I froze, watching helplessly as my supervisor once again stole the credit for my work. After she left, her assistant patted my shoulder sympathetically. "She's the boss's distant relative. We can't fight her. Otherwise, with your track record, Diana, you'd be a VP by now." I sat back down in silence. I took a few deep breaths. I pulled out my phone and counted the zeros in my bank account. Whatever. Getting angry shortens your life. I have more than enough money to spend. I buried my head in the data. A commotion erupted at the entrance. I pushed my glasses up and looked up from a pile of documents. When I saw who it was, I nearly slid out of my chair. "Frank?" As he walked past my desk, Frank raised an eyebrow. "Hey. Diana, you know him?" The junior assistant who was leading the way turned back, her big eyes darting between me and Frank. "Huh. Of course, I know him. We slept in the same bed last night. The CEO of CSU. Aren't you organizing their data right now?" Frank is the CEO of CSU? After doing background research for the better part of a year, I had no idea that the man behind this suddenly booming multinational corporation was my husband of 6 months. Apparently, life doesn't need logic. Looks like $1 million a month was too little. Frank looked at the mountain of files on my desk. His handsome brows furrowed. You're organizing all this data? Sensing his displeasure, my supervisor immediately shimmied up to Frank's side, her face a picture of shy deference. Diana isn't very good with proposals, so I had her organize some data to learn more about CSU. I secretly rolled my eyes. She was shaking her hips so hard they were about to fly off and hit Frank. This data is all publicly available on our company's official website. Why waste manpower and time organizing it? The supervisor's face stiffened. Frank snorted coldly. If your company enjoys performative nonsense this much, perhaps we should reconsider this partnership. Sensing Frank's annoyance, his assistant quickly pushed past the petrified supervisor to clear a path for him. The car is waiting downstairs. By the time everyone snapped out of it, Frank and his entourage were gone. Oh, his visit truly brightens up my humble office. Where'd he go? The big boss, his face still plastered with a grin, stared at the empty hallway, his expression frozen. An assistant quickly explained what had just happened. The boss looked like he was about to crack, his trembling finger pointing at the supervisor, too angry to speak. From behind the closed office door, we could hear the boss's furious shouting. Are you an idiot? I don't care if you want to steal credit usually. But it was so hard to get a meeting with that guy. A short while later, the supervisor emerged from the office, her eyes red and swollen. Everyone immediately pretended to be busy with their own work. No one wanted to get on her bad side. But trouble came looking for me. Diana, pack your things and come with me to CSU. I pointed a finger at myself. Me again? You're half responsible for Frank getting angry this time. Under pressure, the supervisor and I arrived at the entrance of CSU's headquarters. I'm sorry, you can't see the CEO without an appointment. The beautiful receptionist politely turned us away. I shrugged at my supervisor, whose makeup was a tear-streaked mess. Suddenly, the receptionist's desk phone rang. Yes. After hanging up, the receptionist smiled even more brightly at me. The CEO will see you now. Seeing her chance, the supervisor quickly started touching up her makeup and tried to follow, but she was stopped at the elevator. I'm sorry, ma'am. The CEO only said for Mississippi Lynn to go up. The elevator doors closed, cutting off the supervisor's venomous glare. Internally, I thanked Frank for the 800th time. On the top floor, in the CEO's office, his secretary was already waiting by the elevator. Ma'am, the CEO is waiting for you inside. What's gotten into your boss today? I leaned in and whispered to the secretary. The secretary stroked his chin. I think the CEO has been reading billionaire romance novels lately. Pushing open the office door, I found Frank busy with some documents. The rimless glasses on his face gave him an even more abstinent air. Frank, about the partnership with our company, I'd like to talk to you again. Snapping out of my admiration, I remembered I was here on business. I've already seen the proposal. It's well written. Frank looked up from his files, casually taking off his glasses. Huh? You knew I wrote it? At my question, Frank nodded. His smug expression was like a cat that had just been praised by its owner for catching a mouse. I also know you've been a junior employee for all these years because your supervisor keeps stealing your credit. Frank leaned over the desk, getting closer to me. The temperature around us seemed to be rising. Hey, I'm getting $1 million salary every month. Why would I need to hustle in my career? I averted my gaze, staring at the pattern on the floor tiles. My chin was grabbed and turned back to face him. Frank's tea-colored eyes were like an abyss, pulling me in. Such a coward. Where's all that fire you had when you hit me yesterday? That look in his eyes, like he could see right through me. It sparked my rebellious streak again. I jerked my head away, shaking off his hand. You can't even get it up, and you have the nerve to call me out. Frank's face darkened, looking like it could drip water. Diana, you'd better not play with fire. I met his gaze, remembering what the secretary said about him reading billionaire romance novels. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. Soon, I wasn't laughing anymore. A sharp pain shot through my lips. My eyes widened as I stared at the face that was suddenly magnified in front of me. MMPH? MMPH, MMPH. Ignoring my protests, Frank forcefully pulled me into his arms. His lips and tongue were all over me. Finally, my lip was broken. I practically fled the company in terror. I didn't even have time to reply to my boss's messages. I hailed a cab and sped straight to Olivia's house. Wah, Olivia, your brother bullied me. After hearing my tale of woe, Olivia shook her head. She tapped my head in a "you poor fool" kind of way. The force was just right enough to stun, but not to injure. You two siblings must have some kind of secret plot you're not telling me. I clutched my head, horrified. Olivia scoffed dismissively. You mean to tell me that in the 6 months he was abroad, he still hadn't confessed? No, he didn't. Wait, what? Now I was truly lost, my CPU completely fried. Olivia shook her head again. I can't believe it. My brother is actually a shy billionaire CEO. He's been secretly in love with you for ages. But since he was about to go abroad and didn't know when he'd be back, he had me ask you if you'd do it, $1 million a month for a husband who's never home. After hearing Olivia's explanation, my entire worldview shattered. So, I was just a part of Frank's grand plan all along. Still reeling from the shock, I went home in a daze. Frank was already in the kitchen, wearing an apron, placing a bowl of soup on the dining table. Wash your hands. Time to eat. You like me? Frank and I spoke at the same time. And then we both blushed. I cursed myself for being so reckless. What if I was wrong? How embarrassing would that be? Frank picked up the bowls on the table and ladled soup for both of us. He mumbled a quiet mm. Damn. How could something this good happen to me? The next day, for the first time since becoming a rich woman, I, who was never late, was an hour late to work. I plopped down at my desk like a zombie, dark circles under my eyes. The junior assistant, still being tormented by the supervisor, sat down next to me, her eyes welling up. Diana, that woman is crazy. She's telling everyone you're trying to sleep your way to the top by seducing Frank. Humph, if she says so, then I guess it's true. Frank's heartfelt confession from last night was still ringing in my ears. Compared to that, the supervisor's slander was nothing. Speak of the devil, the supervisor came strutting out on her 10-centimeter stilettos to stir up more trouble. Well, if it isn't Mississippi Diana, the apple of Frank's eye. Must have been a tiring night, huh? You were even late today. I rubbed the dark circles under my eyes. Yeah, it really was tiring. After Frank's confession, I was so afraid I'd lose control that I spent half the night running laps around the mansion's courtyard. The junior assistant next to me couldn't take it anymore. Karen, Diana got into a fight with Frank to save the partnership. How can you be so cynical? I snapped back to reality. A fight? When? The junior assistant was indignant. I was just about to say, look. Diana's lip is all cut up. Just stop talking, sweetie. I patted the assistant's shoulder, feeling like I was about to fall apart. I hid in the guest room for 3 days. Olivia knocked on my door. Oh, my dearest sister-in-law. Did you not accept my brother's confession? I poked my head out from under the covers, my voice weak. This is just too insane. I'm my meal ticket's one that got away? Olivia yanked me out of the blankets, once again looking at me with exasperation. Freshman year, summer break. My brother had a fever and was home alone. You came over to hang out with me that day, remember? You took care of him all night. Oh yeah, that did happen. That summer, I went to the house to find Olivia. The door was unlocked, so I just walked in. I saw someone lying in bed and assumed Olivia was still asleep. "Hey, you. You invited me over and you're still sleeping?" I casually slapped what I thought was Olivia's butt. A low grunt. That's when I realized I'd slapped the wrong person. "Ah. I'm so sorry, so sorry. I thought you were Olivia." Frank, who was already delirious with fever, didn't answer. His face, sticking out from the covers, was an unhealthy shade of red. "You have a fever." I felt his forehead. It was burning up. I rushed out to buy fever medicine. Then I made a bowl of noodles in the kitchen. "Where's Olivia?" After watching Frank take the medicine and eat the noodles, I asked while cleaning up. "Ahem, she went on a trip. My break started late, so I didn't go." So unreliable. I couldn't help but mutter. I pulled a cooling patch from the medicine bag and stuck it on his forehead. "You've taken the medicine, so get some sleep. I'll watch over you." Even though Olivia was unreliable, my best friend's brother was my brother too. I couldn't just leave him. That's what my chivalrous self was thinking at the time. I stayed busy all night, and by the time the sky started to lighten, Frank's fever had broken. My job was done. That night, I fell sick from exhaustion. And from that day on, my brother has been thinking about you for 6 years. He saved himself for you. Olivia pretended to wipe away non-existent tears. I fell silent. To think such a small thing would make him remember me for 6 years. It's true what they say, good deeds are rewarded. After avoiding Frank for 3 days, I finally dragged myself to sit next to him. "So, Olivia told me everything." I fidgeted with the hem of my shirt, the tips of my ears turning red. "You don't have to feel pressured. Liking you is my own business." Frank's voice was deep, and the sofa dipped slightly as he moved closer to us. "Huh? What does he mean it's his own business?" I whipped around, but the movement was too abrupt, and I fell right into his lap. The body beneath me stiffened instantly. I froze too, not daring to move. "Diana?" Frank held my shoulders, and through the thin layer of fabric, I could even feel the moisture in his palms. "What do you mean, liking me is your own business? Doesn't what I think matter?" I used his hands to push myself up, my face full of grievance. "No, that's not it. I just don't want to pressure you." Frank gently stroked my hair. His voice was deep and tender. I couldn't hold back anymore. I cupped his face, closed my eyes, took a leap of faith, and kissed him. It was less of a kiss and more of a bite. Frank yelped in pain but didn't push me away. A moment later, as if he'd come to his senses, he took the initiative and deepened the kiss. When we finally separated, breathless. Frank's eyes were slightly red. The hormones had gone completely to my head. I gripped Frank's hand, my face resolute. "And your problem is my fault too. Don't worry, I'll take responsibility." Seeing Frank's stunned expression, I was smug. Look at him, so moved he's speechless. Suddenly, the world spun. I was staring up at the white ceiling, a little confused about what was happening. Frank's face filled my vision, his tone dangerous. "Problem? You want to test whether I have a problem or not?" A strange sensation appeared out of nowhere. "You?" Frank smirked and bit my lip gently. "Tonight, I'll let my dear wife inspect the goods." "Wait. No. Frank." My protests turned into whimpers. And finally, into soft, amorous moans. Frank proved, with his actions, that the rumors of his problem were greatly exaggerated. "Your proposal is good, but your company's management is a bit chaotic." In the morning, Frank was buttoning his shirt while analyzing my work situation. I groaned from under the covers, exhausted. It was unclear if I was actually responding. Frank didn't seem to mind. He tied his tie, thought for a moment, and then came to a conclusion. How about I just buy your company? I completely ignored him, rolled over in my blanket, and went back to sleep. Next time, I need to tell his secretary to delete all those billionaire romance novels. Not long after Frank left, I had to get up for work. Standing in front of the mirror, I carefully dabbed concealer on the love bites on my neck. I cursed Frank 1,000 more times in my head. Olivia said Frank saved himself for me for 6 years. A man who's been penned up for that long is clearly not to be trifled with. Clutching my aching back, I decided to splurge on a taxi to work today. I had just stepped into the company building when I saw a familiar face. I pulled Frank into a corner when no one was looking. "What are you doing here?" Frank was unconcerned, wrapping an arm around my waist and giving it a gentle massage. "Here to talk about the partnership. I can't let my wife's proposal go to waste. Promise me you won't mention acquiring the company." I slapped his hand away, giving him a warning look. "I won't make them think you got here through connections, don't worry, wife." "Is that what I was talking about?" I pinched the firm muscle on his waist. "You can't just throw money around like that. Why would you buy this little dump of a company? That's our joint marital property, you know." Frank's eyes lit up. "So you don't mind if I go public with our relationship?" What a selective listener. I don't know if the boss warned her, but for once, the supervisor didn't cause any trouble. I opened my PowerPoint and gave a brief presentation of my proposal. Frank was very satisfied. He immediately had his secretary prepare the contract. The boss was beaming. His bald spot seemed to shine even brighter. "Thank you, Frank, for your support." After signing the contract, the boss looked like he was about to cry with joy. "It was your company's proposal that moved me," Frank said, looking at me meaningfully. I automatically blocked his little love hearts. The clueless boss, unaware of the situation, just kept praising me. "This kid, Diana, I really like her too." As soon as he said that, the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "Frank?" Frank stepped forward, wrapped his arm around my waist, and his tone turned icy. "My wife is mine, and only I get to like her." The entire room fell silent. I died of social embarrassment, stiffly looking up to meet Frank's intense gaze. Tonight, I'm making his secretary destroy all his novels. Thanks to Frank's one sentence, my cover, which I had maintained for half a year, was suddenly blown. The culprit had already made a clean getaway. After a dead silence, the office erupted. I was surrounded by a crowd of people. "Diana, are you really the CEO's wife? You're like a secret agent. How did you keep this a secret for so long? No wonder Frank was still willing to partner with us. Diana, you're amazing." Everyone was chattering around me. My head was buzzing. So the real nepotism hire is right here. Looks like we'll all have to rely on his wife to get by from now on. The supervisor walked up to me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Faced with her provocative gaze, I smiled sweetly. "Glad you know." Satisfied by the sight of her face turning white, then green, then red, I cheerfully packed my bag, clocked out, and left for the day. After all, I had some family matters to attend to. I kicked open the front door. Frank was still in the kitchen, wearing a pink-fringed apron, busy as a bee. I stomped over to him, about to let him have it. Frank beat me to it, lifting me up and placing me on the kitchen counter. "You're back. Dinner's almost ready." With that, he planted a soft kiss on my lips. And just like that, I was lost again. After a full reel of inappropriate images flashed through my mind, I remembered I was here to settle a score. I hopped off the counter, squishing Frank's face with my hands, my voice dangerous. "Why did you sell me out without even talking to me first?" Frank took my hands and brought them to his lips for a gentle kiss. "I know you don't like to fight, but I couldn't just stand by and watch you get bullied." Oh my God, he's so good at this. I forced myself to stay calm, but I couldn't meet his gaze. Ahem, fine, I'll let it go this time. But don't let it happen again. Frank kissed the corner of my mouth indulgently, his voice uncharacteristically soft. Okay. Thank you for your generosity, my dear wife. And just like that, the distance between us closed again. Frank supported himself with one hand next to me, the other cupping my face. A tender, lingering kiss, like a warm June rain, drenched us both. The atmosphere was electric. If it weren't for the boiling soup pot protesting on the stove. I blushed and pushed Frank away. I'm hungry. Frank chuckled, bringing the finished soup to the table. Shall we continue tonight? My face felt as hot as the soup on the table. Let's eat. This man, he really knows how to flirt. The collaboration with CSU proceeded smoothly. Except for Frank's occasional nitpicking. Director Lin, this section is a bit vague. The CEO said to come to his office this afternoon to discuss it in detail. Director Lin, the section we discussed last time needs to be implemented ASAP. The CEO is waiting for you in his office. Director Lin, the presentation on the day of the meeting was perfect. The CEO would like to hear it again. Director Lin, the CEO said to have lunch together. Messages from Frank's secretary kept popping up in the temporary workgroup chat. Will you ever stop? I grumbled, eating the lunch Frank had prepared while still managing to complain about him. Doesn't Director Lin know that I'm expressing how much I miss you? Frank wiped the corner of my mouth, his charming eyes full of affection. I turned to his secretary. Still haven't deleted all the billionaire romance novels? The secretary shook his head. The CEO is reading Danielle Steele now. The people from both companies had gone from initial shock to complete numbness at my interactions with Frank. They even started a group chat to ship our CP. Looking at the fanfiction they accidentally leaked. I couldn't stop my mouth from twitching. I bit down hard on Frank's chest. Lately, rumors have been flying around the office. Though, they're not exactly rumors. I heard the CEO and Diana have a contract marriage. He has to give her $1 million a month. Really? If that's true, doesn't that just mean she's his sugar baby? It's totally true. Passing by the break room, I saw the supervisor and a group of people huddled together, whispering. I didn't need to guess who started the latest rumor. The supervisor, still gossiping about me, caught sight of me out of the corner of her eye and immediately put on a mocking expression. People these days have such low moral standards. How long can you last just by selling your looks? I stood opposite her, a sarcastic smile on my face. Well, you'd have to have the looks to sell in the first place. What do you have, Director? Then tell us, is it true the CEO gives you $1 million a month? The supervisor pressed on, armed with some gossip she'd heard from God knows where. Unable to resist the crowd's expectant, starry eyes, I cleared my throat. That's right. Frank used to give me $1 million a month. Is he still giving it to you? The CEO is so doting. Amidst a flurry of quiet squeals, I slowly continued. He doesn't wire me money every month anymore. The supervisor's sarcastic remark died on her lips. He transferred his company shares to me directly. The room fell silent once again. Even though I didn't care, the rumors eventually reached Frank's ears. Almost the very next day, news that Frank and I were throwing a massive wedding spread like wildfire through our social circles. What is all this for? I looked up from a pile of wedding brochures, my eyes blurring. I want them all to know that you're the wife I worked my ass off to marry. Frank pinched my cheek, his tone leaving no room for argument. A stack of high-fashion wedding dress catalogs was placed in my hands. Pick a designer you like. I'll take you for a fitting tomorrow. Being a billionaire's wife is exhausting. No matter how much I insisted on keeping things simple, my wedding with Frank was a grand affair. Frank stood on the stage, holding my hand as he made his vows. My love for you has lasted for 6 years. Thank God for being so kind, for finally letting me find you. Amid the blessings of the crowd, Frank and I shared a passionate kiss. I originally thought our story would end with a beautiful romance. Until the next day, when Frank gave me the entire CSU corporation. I went from being a rich woman to being one of the richest. For a long time after, Frank became the gold standard for good husbands. The following spring, I gave birth to our first child abroad. A loud, healthy, chubby little girl. From then on, Frank gained a new identity. A doting father with absolutely no principles when it came to his daughter. We named our daughter Annie, because her father said he didn't want her to have a hard time writing her name later in life. To this, I just gave a cold laugh. I was long used to Frank's ridiculousness. Annie was raised to be Frank's successor. Finally, on her 18th birthday, Frank and I officially retired. Honey, if we just take off like this, won't Annie be mad? Though I said this, my hands didn't stop packing our bags for a second. Frank signed the last document and gave me a smug smile. Annie is brilliant. I have complete confidence in leaving the company to her. Besides, the board of directors will help her. On the very first day Annie took over as CEO of CSU, her unreliable parents flew straight to New Zealand. They settled down in a small estate and began to live a secluded, idyllic life. Wife, don't you think things have been a bit boring lately? One day after dinner, Frank held my hand as we strolled along the coastline. I dug my toes into the soft sand and turned to meet his gaze. How about we give Annie a little brother or sister? A moment later, a man's cry of pain echoed across the beach. You're an old man, stop being so improper. If you're that bored, go get a job. Frank rubbed his kicked butt pitifully. I'm not even 50 yet. I'm in my prime, what's wrong with having another one? I restrained the urge to push him into the sea. I spat on the ground and walked back towards the house without looking back. A 48-year-old man. In his prime, my ass. Shameless old man. Frank followed behind me, starting to whine again. Wife, why are you angry? I was kidding, just kidding. I only want to be with you, just the two of us. Hey, Diana. Frank suddenly shouted. What? I turned back, just as annoyed. I love you. Frank suddenly made a heart shape with his hands. I couldn't help but bend over laughing. The setting sun stretched our shadows long across the sand. Our intertwined silhouettes extended along the beach into the endless coastline. I took Frank's hand again, smiling tenderly. Let's go. Our daughter said she wants to video call me tonight. I knew that girl missed us. No, she said she wants to chew you out to your face. And so, life went on, peaceful and noisy. And so, we'll just keep walking, hand in hand. Thank goodness, we never made the wrong decision.